I am a certified zombie nut, so if a board game's going to have zombies in it, I'm going to check it out one way or another. There's been some real high marks. Last Night on Earth was a pretty good game for a while until I overplayed it, got rid of it. Zombie State, yeah, that was a big stinker. But regardless of the ups and downs that I've had, I still have to check out zombie games. And so when I got the opportunity to try out Grave Business from Minion Games, I just jumped at the chance. So this is a 2 to 4 player game recommended for 13 and up. Plays probably, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. And yeah, it has zombies in it. So that's all I needed to hear. For as excited as I was for this game, there's one thing that concerned me right away is this game came with a ton of tiles, and just by looking at the pictures of it or little synopsises on the internet, I was really concerned that there was going to be a high amount of randomness in this game, which I do not like. I do not like randomness, but I was still willing to give this a shot because zombies! This is a 2-player setup for Grave Business. I've actually jumped to the second turn of this game so that I can demonstrate all the concepts easily. The primary object of the game is players are going to be digging these tiles from the graveyard so that they'll be acquiring treasure, body parts, and equipment. All of these tiles have a numeric value on them, such as right here, this is 2 points. And at the end of the game, which is when you can't properly refill the entire graveyard, players compare points and see who has the most, and that's who the winner is. There is a secondary condition to winning. If one player is capable of grabbing all 3 of these master body parts, they're just green tiles here, then they will win immediately. The way a turn works is, starting with the start player, players place 1 zombie at a time in each of the various places on the board. So the different places that you can assign a zombie is you can place someone in a dig row, you can place someone directly on an object, you can have someone try to steal from an opponent's vault or from their lab, you can grab the start player icon, or you can attack another zombie. If you choose to place one of your zombies on one of the digging spaces, what you're doing is you are looking at the values of each of your zombies, and this tells you how much influence they have. So this is my most powerful one with 3 brains. This is my next 2 most powerful with 2 brains and 2 brains, and these bones here decide a tiebreaker if multiple player zombies are vying for certain spaces and they have tied influence, then the bones settle that tie. An example of placing down some people in the digging areas, I could secretly choose to place my most powerful guy with the 3 brains down on a dig row, for example right here. My opponent doesn't know what I've just placed. On my opponent's turn, they could also do the same. So he's going to place down this 2-brain one, and he's going to place it in this row. Now at the end of this phase, we're going to be comparing who has the most influence in each of these rows, and that player gets the tiles. Now the one wrinkle to this concept is, let's say that I place a 2-brain zombie on an individual tile here. So if I really wanted, say, this tile right here, because I put someone directly on the space, my 2-brain zombie becomes a 3-brain zombie. A player may also steal from an opponent, so I could take one of my zombies, it doesn't matter what value they are, and I just place it in one of these steal locations, so I'll steal from this vault, and at the very end of this turn, I will randomly get one of these pieces. Green doesn't like this idea, so green is going to initiate an attack. The way this works is you just take one of your available zombies, place it into the attack slot over here, and then he may choose any of another opponent's zombies to attack. So he could attack this one, but in this example, I'm going to have him attack this. So what happens is I flip this guy over to indicate that he's the target, and we resolve a fight. To understand a fight, I have to quickly describe the player's mat. The way this works is the mats represent a number of tombstones here, and each of the tombstones that actually has a number of tiles on it, these represent each of the active zombies that people have to play with. And so in this fight example, where I'm fighting the person in my vault, it was Vlad who was in my vault, and so I simply turn over the top tile and place it face up. And what this shows is this is how much damage this zombie has. Now, this is a 13 space. So if at any point this zombie has more damage than half of the 13, so if he has 8 or more damage, then this zombie will die, and this player will not have that zombie for future turns. So in this example, Vlad was simply damaged and didn't put up a fight, so he is evicted from this vault and is placed over here as a placeholder. Blue has one more zombie to assign, so I'll just place him on this dig row where he's guaranteed to get all the parts. At this point, if there was anyone left in any of the steal positions, we would resolve those, but there aren't, so we'll just go to the digging. So when we resolve the graveyard, we turn over all of the zombies who are in play, and we see how much influence they each have. Any space that someone has influence in, they're eligible to take what's in that row or space. So we're gonna look at this guy here. So we can see that he has 2 brains of influence. He's going along this row uncontested, so he's gonna acquire all of these tiles. We're going to look at this row. Now we can see that he has 2 brains of influence. This guy has 3. And this guy on this individual spot, he has 2 plus the bonus 1 that I mentioned, so he has 3 influence there. And so we just see who has the most, and we assign the tiles like that. So blue has this uncontested, so that goes to him. Green has 3 influence on here to his 2, so green gets that. And again, green has 3 on this space compared to this guy's 2, so this also goes to green. And then for green's final zombie here, he is uncontested for the rest of these, so green gets all these. Players now dump all of their treasures into their respective vaults and all the body parts in their respective labs. If no one had grabbed the start player during the game, this player was the start player last turn, so this player is going to become the new start player. Players also retrieve all their zombies back to their stock. And now we jumped to the manage zombie phase. The first thing you do in this phase is you look at any zombie that has been damaged, and here only this one has been, and we see if they've taken more than half of their tombstone's damage. This player is not, so he's left in the game. Now the thing is, damage is permanent, so in successive rounds, if this player keeps getting damage, there's a point where this zombie might actually have to leave the game. And now for my favorite part of this game, this is where you get to construct your zombies. And the way this works is you look at your lab, and you see all the available body parts to you, and you can make zombies of these values. In this example, I'm going to make a simple zombie. I'm going to make a 5, a Jason. And so the way I do this is I have to have at least 5 or more, and I can use as many parts as I want. So I'm going to go 3, 4, 5. So I'll assign 7 worth and pop this into the adjacent spot. And what this does is this grants me a Jason tile, which is an additional zombie which I can use in future turns. And I can do this as many times as I want. So I could also make another one. I can make a value 6 zombie. And that would be it. I'd draw them from this pile, and that would be my manage zombies phase. I'll have blue do the same thing, so I will have him make a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pop that there, and I get to take a Svetlana, which will be put right there. Now we just reset the graveyard with 16 new tiles, and we're ready for the next round. And that's pretty much how you play the game. You're just digging for as many points as possible. You're trying to get parts to build more and more zombies, to do more actions, and to do more attacks. I didn't list off all the rules talking about fighting and equipment, simply because I want to make this a brief overview to give you the feel for the game. So yes, zombie game, me likey. This overcame my trepidations about it. There's actually a lot less luck than I originally thought. Most of the luck or randomness that happens in the game is as a result of the blind bidding that happens from other players. But most of the information is relatively out on the table, so the luck factor is not an issue for me whatsoever. But I love creating my zombie horde. Yay! It's fun. I didn't realize that I would enjoy that aspect so much. I mean, all you're doing is you're taking a bunch of like body part tiles and dumping them on a tombstone and hey, new zombie. But for some reason, that theme just really speaks to me, and I love it. There's one complaint that I have to point towards minion games. I have to say, what were you thinking? This is a worker placement game, and I really think that you should have put this somewhere on the title of the box or on the back description or somewhere in the instruction book. I really think that if you indicated that this was truly a worker placement game, which it is, it would have generated some more sales. It's a great game, but if someone isn't specifically into the zombie theme, they may not look this direction. But fear not, I'm saying to the world, this is a worker placement game. It's fun. There's one of the few cons that I have for this game, unfortunately, is when resolving the digging phase, there is a bit of thinking involved in trying to figure out like who owns what tile, and like, this guy has one influence going this direction and someone else has an influence going the other direction, and in a 2-player game it's sort of manageable. In a 4-player game it is a little bit of a drag. Not so much for me to not want to play this game anymore, but it's a noticeable burden which unfortunately has to be overcome. I played this game with 2 players and 4 players, and they definitely feel different. In the 2-player game, there's not a lot of combat happening. You're basically just positioning yourself and trying to bluff your opponent, and yeah, there's not a lot of direct conflict. But in the 4-player games I've played, it was a completely different story. Fights happening left and right, zombies going back to their graves. It was fun for different reasons. So I really like this game. Again, it's a worker placement game. Just get that out there. I think that's something that detractors may want to know about. But yes, big fan. Oh, one more thing. I'm pretty new to the board game hobby, so there's a ton of established businesses out there, and yeah, they've made names for themselves, and they always put out good stuff. There's a couple newer companies that I'm really into following because I've watched them from their developmental stages, and they keep blossoming like into bigger and better things. Tasty Minstrel Games is one of those. Stronghold Games is another, and now Minion Games is one of those. They are a company that I'm going to be following because each successive release is something that I'm more and more interested in. And speaking of which, very soon they're going to be releasing a game called The Manhattan Project, which I really want to get a hold of. So yeah, I know, nothing to do with this review, but Minion Games, watch out for them.